let's play this one. Hey.
It's like it never happened.
It's no one will ever notice.
Hey, dancing is encouraged.
This is where the intro will go. I can't wait. The sound is deafening. Welcome to episode 162 of another Woodshop podcast, where this week we are joined by one of the kings of ASMR woodworking, showing us how to use hand tools in the most artistic and satisfying ways. And when he's not stropping all of his blades, he's testing out tools and techniques so that we don't have to. And he's teaching us how to capture video, or how to capture the eye of our audience in less than 10 seconds. Proving once again that 10 seconds is plenty of time. Kayla, Suman Sarker is here.
What is up?
So hey, how's it going? I guess I'm gonna do a quick little spiel about myself in under 10 seconds, but you already did it for me. So I always appreciate when I have helper, in my private time. So,
dude, thank you so much for joining us. You know who I wish could join us every single week, but can't. But they're here in spirit. It is our patrons. Dan, would you like to shout out our patrons?
I would love to shout out our patrons. But before I do that, let me talk about how we don't have any new patrons.
Oh, yeah. What's up with that?
We don't have any new patrons. There, that's it. I said it all. But as I said, we do have patrons that have been around for a while, and I'd like to give a shout out to our VIP patrons. And today, we're going to do it in alphabetical order.
Whoa.
Alexander Copa-Johns, Bill Burkle, Daniel Bryson, Jacob Miller, Justin from Cavalry Customs, Christian Tung, Malcolm over at Bossanova Woodworks, Matthew Hoff, Matt Maynard at Patriotic Pines, Max and Mindy Coons from Stubby K Studio, Michael Flickinger, Mike Lydon, Nick Brim Woodworking, Scotty Holland from Elevated Wood Design, Square Splinter, Steve Iadarola, and Victor Aragama.
Very solid crew.
That's a solid list.
Very solid list. Thank you, everybody who helps us, including the VIP patrons and everybody else.
You guys are amazing. And Dan, I believe we have a Patreon call coming up. We're going to be scheduling it in the next couple of weeks.
I think Sunday won out in the poll. We're going to be doing Sunday.
It's going to be a Sunday.
Sunday morning.
It's going to be around.
It's going to be AWP Church.
Not morning. No.
No?
Is brunch included?
No. It's a BYOB. Bring your own brunch.
We have to definitely do it around a time where people can
probably in the evening. Yes.
Yeah. So most likely 6-7ish o'clock Eastern. So it's on a later side on our end, but not so late because it's a school night, guys. Come on. You should be drinking that late. But yeah, sometime around that time, and we're super stoked to do it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're just gonna BS and have a great time.
This is gonna be the start of a new
something.
thing.
It'll be something.
Gonna be it's most definitely gonna be something. And this week's episode is sponsored by Suman. So Suman, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here. Even who do you think you are? Give us the elevator pitch. Go.
Well, I didn't realize I had to open my wallets to be on this show.
By the way, bill is in the mail.
It's like the Met. You it's an encouraged donation, but you don't have to pay.
Okay.
I'll send you my Cash App info. Do people still use that?
Yeah,
they do.
So.
They do.
Okay.
But hey, guys, thanks so much for having me. My name is Suman. I am a hobbyist woodworker, a content creator. For the most part, I've been focused on making short format content on Instagram. And now I'm kind of shifting gears and focusing more towards long format content on YouTube. So that's pretty much me. So you can find me at Woodcraft by Suman and all of those platforms. And let me know what you think about the content.
Wow, that was short and precise.
I love it.
I like it.
Well, let me ask you this: what got you into this? Your background's not anything to do with woodworking. So how'd you end up with a 3-car garage, full shop, decked out, and a passion for hand tools?
3-car garage, huh? Weird flex.
Yeah. 20 by 30, one could say.
So I'm glad I didn't realize you had knowledge of my 3-car garage, but
I do my research, bud,
dude,
including the wood you store in your basement.
I am very worried about this conversation and where it's going. But so I think a lot of folks, when they buy a home, they want to renovate and do things, and they eventually turn into becoming a full-fledged woodworker because they have tool addictions that they consider and call themselves a woodworker for. But for me, it was way before that. I was at like a farmer's market where this gentleman was selling a whole bunch of cutting boards, and my girlfriend at the time, and I we were just like looking at him, and I'm like, I can make that. It's like the worst thing you could ever say or do, because it's going to cost you way more than the product. And so, 500-600 bucks later, with a portable table saw and a router and I don't know what else I got at the time, I made my first cutting board, and I realized that I enjoyed doing it quite a bit. So I've been making a whole bunch of things since then.
So that first cutting board cost you probably $1,000.
Yeah,
Is that
man.
what you're saying?
Instead of paying like $100, I paid $1,000. Yeah,
That's like
Pretty
Spagnolo's
smart.
video of like, this spoon costs $48,000
yeah.
because it's every tool he had to use in a shop, and he just added up the cost.
If only you went through one tool every time you made one project. I get a new table saw every time I make a cutting board.
just they're single use table saws. Yeah, because once on the final cut, I set out the cartridge, and you got to toss the whole thing.
Yeah, isn't that what you're supposed to do with saw stops?
Just a new one every week. The Etsy shop must be doing well.
Yeah. No.
And so how'd you fall into, so when did that start, and how did you fall into content?
Oh yeah. So I started woodworking maybe like 8-9 years ago, and it's one of those things, you just kind of have to make a lot of stuff to get good at anything, right? Now, to be fair, I'm not saying that I'm a good woodworker. I'm just saying I've had a little bit of practice. And so I built a whole bunch of things. Furnitures, I built a bunch for myself, and then I ran out of furnitures to build for myself, so I built it for other people. There was a point where I did make a few pieces of furniture to sell, but that's not really where my focus is. And so I eventually shifted all of that towards making content, and now I don't make anything. I just make content. It seems like, at least it feels like that, and it's a good thing, because I think making content is like its own specialty, and you happen to be a woodworker that makes content. And there's this argument that should be made that most of the woodworkers that you're used to watching on Instagram, YouTube, or whatever, by and large, they're probably more content creators than they are woodworkers, with a few exceptions. And certainly, right, it's a completely separate skill that takes up so much more time.
That Mark Spagnolo, he's no good at woodworking. Let me tell you.
Do you know what's interesting? I remember like 5 years ago or so, somebody on a Facebook woodworking page said, Mark Spagnolo seems to really be making woodworking videos. I don't really see him making projects anymore, which is not true. The guy makes a lot of projects.
Yeah.
But there was a comment response to that by a gentleman, and he said, producing content is his job, and that is the skill. Why would you want him to also be a woodworker? And that really struck with me, because
such a weird way to put it.
Yeah, because at the time I had no ambition for producing content, and it was just a mind shift on how we look at people, and the fact that some stranger recognized the fact that producing content is its own skill, and that is a
really
job.
Is.
Yeah, and that is a job. And so being a woodworker happens to be secondary to that. And so I often ask myself, am I a woodworker? Am I a content creator? At this point, I'm not much of a woodworker. I'm definitely more on the content creation side. But I think everybody who has aspirations for making content has to corral those two, because it's very rare to be able to do both and do it really well.
That's a good way to put it.
I don't think I'm good at either one. Why am I here?
Practice makes perfect, Dan. We're just trying to get good at it. So, let me ask you this then, because and we didn't really say this officially, but with this episode we kind of wanted to talk about content creation, like for beginners, intermediate, professional content creators, whatever. And like the thing is, a lot of us have been doing this and a lot of our guests have been doing it for so long that we all kind of forgot how to start. Like if we had to start now without the knowledge we have, we'd be kind of lost. Like, well, we would just like point my phone at stuff. But like there is there's very much a skill to it. And like Suman, you taught a class at Workbench Con, which you'll tell us later how relevant that is now still. But all those, like it is a skill. It's something you put in. Like you might not be a musician, but you could be a producer, and you could
Yeah.
do beautiful work of being able to put together things and present it in a way that is pleasing to people and easy to essentially absorb. So with if let me ask you this then: if you're telling someone right now who's like kind of starting out, they might not necessarily, they might be doing woodworking for fun or because they decided they want to make some extra money on the side, and they see this like community and they want to start making content. Like, what's your recommendation? What would you tell them to get them started? What would you tell a young Suman?
The first thing I would say is stop watching other content creators for enjoyment. Watch them to study. Because most of us, at least I know for me, when I was into woodworking, the folks like Mark Spagnolo and, Rob Cosman, these folks had a large impression on me because they taught me a lot of things about woodworking. I never went to formal schooling or anything for woodworking, right? And so I watched them for enjoyment and for learning. Never did I watch them with a content creation like mindset, right? So I never paid attention to the fact that, like, oh, he's presenting it this way, talking about it this way, structuring it this way, or his lighting or camera work is being, is changing over time. I see that he's trying to improve that method or whatever it is. Never thought about it that way. Only thought about it for, oh, what am I learning in this particular piece of content? So as a person who's interested in producing content, you need to study what's out there and how other folks are producing content. Watch what is working today, what has worked in the past, why those things don't work today. And once you start to see yourself as a person that is critiquing other content creators of today, then you will already have a huge leg up when you begin to produce your own content. I'm not saying that those knowledge is gonna translate directly into you're one hell of a content creator from day one, because you still have to put the reps in. You still have to go through the motions. You still have to produce the content. You still have to like make some mistakes, learn from it, and all of that. But as soon as you start to shift your mindset and watching these folks for enjoyment or learning to as your peers that you can learn from, that's when you start to really sponge it all in.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah,
please.
I would go as far as to say, don't just stop watching videos for the enjoyment, but add to your enjoyment by studying. Don't just stop watching videos for enjoyment only. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it.
Yeah.
I don't though. At this point, it's like I got glasses out. I'm writing notes. I'm not.
You got like tunnel vision. You're a one detail kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think folks like John Cesaro from Lincoln Street Woodworks, Scott Walsh.
I've heard of him.
Scott Walsh. Yeah, those two gentlemen. We started out at the same time on YouTube. Obviously, their growth has been far more tremendous than mine. And we have been friends. I appreciate that.
I feel like they're buy-in followers. Don't compare yourself to them.
So they, when we started, we just sort of like corralled together. I think John was at like 300 subscribers at the time. Scott was like 200, 100 or something. Like we were like very much sub 1,000 subscribers. And I spoke to John. We're like, hey, how are you strategizing your content, etc. And I realized that he added an element to the conversation that I was not thinking of. He added to the marketing and retention side of things. And Scott was more of the audio mixing, keeping things lighthearted and interesting. And the three of us realized like we're really make a good team in terms of being able to learn from each other and grow 3 times faster because we can learn from each other's mistakes, So we unfortunately, I would say, don't really watch content for enjoyment nearly as much anymore, at least not woodworking content. There's other creators, in woodworking or in YouTube space that we definitely watch for enjoyment, but woodworking, no, it's all critiquing and trying to get a better understanding.
I remember when we had John on, he was talking about how the three of you would critique each other's videos and you would like hold nothing back. You would just rip each other apart.
It's like painful.
I think
that's good.
That's a good way to do it.
You have someone that is going to be honest with you, because that's hard, you know? It's hard
Well,
to
it's
be
super
honest with
hard. I would never
someone,
do
and
that.
I'm glad you guys have like that support system there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, sometimes that can be a challenge too, because at the beginning, none of us really had a true sense. Well, John, I think, had a pretty good sense of how he wanted his content to be, because he's a marketing guy. So I think he understands marketing, and how he wanted to position himself in the YouTube woodworking space. Scott, not so much at the time, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing, and I would argue I still don't to some extent. And um, so as kind of time went along, though, each one of us started to kind of develop our own feel, presentation style, topic of conversation. And so we kind of back off a little bit more on all of those elements now, because that's what makes us uniquely us. But we can still say, hey, the pause at 10 minutes and 16 seconds is 2 seconds too long, because that's going to affect retention. That's still fair game.
Right.
But in terms of like the style of presentation or what topic we cover and all of that, that's usually not a point of critique anymore, because we want to make sure that all three of us can grow in our own way, and kind of create a space in woodworking and YouTube.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome.
I like it.
And that's, that brings it back to the whole community thing. A lot of people, if you're getting into the content creation immediately, just like, I'm going to make money and I'm going to get free stuff, you're doing it for the wrong reason. That's one of those things. I personally think that with content creation, it's if you build it, they will come. If you build your community around you, because that's what being a content creator is. You build a community around you, people that follow you, that actually enjoy you,
Right.
that want to see more of you, whether that's other content creators or just people consuming the content. If you build it, the relationships, the brand deals, the money will eventually come. And yeah, you'll have to put in some legwork on your side, but
You're going to have to put in a lot of legwork. This doesn't happen overnight.
But there's also things that will just happen if you just do it. Good things happen to those that put into work. So, and I like that you're kind of referring to content creation as like a completely separate entity, because many of us are like, well, I woodwork and then I record everything, and that's like the content creation. But like, no, like if you really get into it, like you're creating content. You're not just like stumbling on content based on what you shot on your phone that day. You're actually putting in the work, just like you'd go in there and sharpen your chisels on a strop and get the project started, get it all set up for the next day. You're gonna like curate your content, like, okay, I need to shoot this for that. I want to get this shot. I saw this video that Suman did. I really like that style, because I'm glad you brought up the whole like you watch videos now to learn about things. I find myself being very annoying when I'm watching YouTube that's for other woodworkers or makers, because I'm pausing and I'm going like, did you see that? Did you see how he did that? Or like, oh, did you see this part? Like we're pointing stuff out, or I'm like, oh, that's crazy, that's brilliant. And then we're like, I'm scrolling back and forth to just show her. So it's definitely become more of like, now I'm watching for things. I'm not watching it for just for enjoyment. I'm watching it like, because I still like these guys, but it's more to like see what's working.
Yeah, and in some capacity, you can. I don't know about you, but I'm not big enough to consider some of these bigger channels as peers of mine, right? But I still feel like watching their content with this critical eye, more like, hey, he's making content or she's making content, I'm making content. And I want to see like, what are those things that they do that's playful for them? Because like producing content is an absolute grind, you guys. Like if you're listening, trust me, it is probably one of the harder things you'll do. I produce pharmaceutical research, drugs, and cancer for a living, and it's actually not that hard compared to
piece of cake
content.
Content creation's a lot, especially if you're talking YouTube. Oh my God.
It's a lot.
Our first video was like 30 hours plus of editing.
Yeah. And you have no idea how it's going to be received, right? You put your best.
You do all that work and you get 10 views and you're just heartbroken. Like, oh God, how am I going to keep doing this?
Yeah. And then you got to suck it up and pick yourself up and do it again.
And again, and again.
And again, and again. Exactly. And it's really not that different from a lot of other professions where, there's always going to be these very apex top performers, like in athleticism, for example. There's going to be people who make a career out of being an athlete, right? And they are exceptional compared to most other folks. And one of the main reasons for it is because they put in the reps. They do the hard work that other people will not. And in a similar way, you kind of have to see yourself in the same mindset in YouTube and even in our niche of woodworking. There's a lot of people producing content that are not getting visibility. And so if you want to come up to the top, you have to put in the work. You have to be better. If you're not, striving to be better each and every step of the way, like, why should people watch you, and why are you going to strive to the top? It's just not going to happen, probably.
It's another thing you're doing. It's another hobby. It's hard to be successful in it, I think, if you're treating it as an add-on to the thing you're doing. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I do woodworking where I also do turning and I also do content. That's almost how best way I can put it, like how people do. Like, I do maker content, and like I also do like laser cutting and 3D printing, and like content to me for the longest time has just been another part of the thing I'm doing. It's I up until very recently have never been treating it like a job.
Can I
which is-
tell you? I built a dining table, I think, over winter. It was for an artist friend of mine.
Did it also
And-
take you 6 months?
Yes, because I filmed it.
You just say you filmed it. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it's I think it's a really good piece of furniture because it's a little bit more interesting than your typical furniture builds that you see on YouTube these days. And I filmed it with the intention of eventually producing a finished video out of it. And my channel now is more focused towards testing woodworking things, and we can talk more about that. But it has no place. A dining table build has no place in the space that I'm trying to carve out for myself in YouTube and woodworking. And so while it's been filmed, it's available. I can edit it, and I think it's a pretty good looking piece of furniture. It's probably never going to see daylight in an actual published video. And the reason for it is because it doesn't align with the brand that I'm trying to project.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
If you edit it, can you send it to me and I'll AI my face on your body and I'll just put it on my channel?
But like really poorly, so it's like
yes,
it's
really,
photos
really
of your face.
I'll give you upwards of $5 in a bow tie.
Perfect.
Package.
It's got a couple of bow ties in it, actually.
There you go.
There you go. But so and because I think, Peter, you mentioned this idea of, oh, I do woodworking and I do wood turning and I do a little bit of this. Here's the thing. I make furnitures in my shop. I make jigs in my shop. I make a whole lot of things out of wood in my shop that I will not produce a piece of content for because it doesn't align with what it is that I'm trying to carve a niche for. Believe it or not, people love predictability way more than you would think. And they want to be able to say, they want to be able to say like, oh, that Suman guy, he's the one that tests woodworking stuff. If you're calling me that, I consider that a success because I've done my job, because you can summarize what my channel is about in one sentence. That's really, really important.
Ceviche.
Ceviche. So for those of you who may not have been in the pre-podcast, we were talking about raw chicken ceviche.
Yeah, delicacy in parts of Omaha.
Delicacy in fine woodworking and parts of Omaha. So, I mean, you have to keep your interest an interest, and you have to delineate your content because your content is your published piece. If you were to publish a book about, I don't know, the ocean, are you going to talk about, chickens in the ocean? Fuck no, you're not going to talk about that. You might have a chicken farm, but don't introduce chicken when you're writing a book about the ocean. It's the same thing, really. You really need to kind of focus and deliver on that particular area. And John from Lincoln Street has consistently blasted me over the last, I don't know, 2+ years on this. And it's like, what is your elevator speech? What is the summary about who you are as a content producer in woodworking? If you can't summarize it in a sentence.
Oh, no wonder he was so ready for the "Who are you?"
If you can't summarize it in a sentence, you need to keep working at it.
Well, let's see. I'm gonna approach it from a different angle because yes, I think niching down and being really consistent on a topic or style of video, like one of my favorite pastime, if I need time to burn, YouTube channels to watch, Project Farm. The guy just aggressively tests tools and things like that. Consistent. so consistent and constantly the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and a monster account. Another account that I kind of like relate to a lot is Bart Komar Project,
Mm-hmm.
because we're both
That's because he speaks Polish.
we're both Polish daddies. But like Bart is his channel is I think he just crested over 1 million subs,
Mm.
which is crazy. Some of his videos are bonkers massive, and other ones are just fine, still a lot of
Mm-hmm.
views. But like he's consistently inconsistent. He's working on whatever projects he wants to, and you can like
Mm-hmm.
you can still pop off on that. Like I actually
You
relate
can.
to that a lot
Yeah.
because I find myself, and it took me way too long to like define what I was because I was trying to niche myself down to a woodworker,
Mm-hmm.
but I like too many things. And I was like, no, I'm a maker. I'm a maker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why I related to like Adam Savage for so many years or Laura Kampf, or because you
So
just make stuff, but it's hard to niche down and the content's kind of all over the place.
at the risk of sounding like a prick, how are you a different, how do you distinguish yourself from other makers?
I don't.
So that could be a potential thing that you want to review and look at,
Yeah.
right? Because it's okay to be a maker if you're the only maker in town. But if there's a lot of other makers out there, then you need to either inject a bunch more personality into it. You
Are we
need to
talking about
inject
Pete being a maker or being a content creator?
a maker as a content creator,
Yep.
right? So either you need to inject a lot of personality into it and have the content.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of people delineate themselves or separate themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're a personality.
Mm-hmm.
They can still do whatever, because people are going there for them, not for
them,
the content that they're doing.
And this is why the likes of Emma Chamberlain can do well,
Mhm.
because people are attracted to her as an individual and as a personality. And so she could be in Paris one day making a video about just about nothing, and the next day she could be talking about her kitchen remodel, and people are still interested because it's not about the content anymore, it's about her as a person. So again, it may not necessarily be, and I think to your point, I'm being a little too linearly focused. There's still niching in how you package your content, and it's not
Yep.
necessarily the nature of the build or content itself. But you need to be intentional and mindful of that, right? You can't just say, well, I'm a maker, I make things, therefore I'm going to make something and put it out there. It might do okay, it might not. It's more important to channel things through that filter of yours, right? So for me, my channel is going to be more and more into testing woodworking things.
Mhm.
What's interesting is I can test a low, medium, high priced item like a combination square, right? Instead of me doing a review video on combination squares and why they're useful in woodworking, or I'm going to say, here I have 3 different category priced tools. I'm going to test them to hell and see which one performs well, and is the more expensive one really worth it? Do you need to stare it, or is eye gauging adequate? So I'm funneling essentially a tool review through the filter of testing, and that's still okay. So just because you're niching down doesn't mean your content nature can't be a broader topic of other things. You just have to bring it and package it into your way of delivering.
Your style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think so. If there's one thing I'd say is like a takeaway, and like if you're starting out, and especially for people that are not confident to with being on camera, or don't feel good about it, or they just don't want to be on camera or whatever. Even if you hate your voice, I don't, because I'm firmly in the camp of I hate my voice. I am told by some people that they actually enjoy my voice, and I'm like, you're insane. Go away, mom. So there. I don't care what camp you're in, where you find yourself with content. Find accounts you enjoy, content you enjoy, and if it's if you don't like to be on camera, find other content where people are talking or doing voiceovers. I love voiceover content. Like on TikTok, I go to TikTok to relax and enjoy content and not look at woodworking content. So most of it is like small business and hacks and a lot of Japan, Japanese food and stuff like that. And like people doing voiceovers, and sometimes I'm like, this voice is a bit nails on chalkboard, but the delivery is consistent. It's good, and you're like enjoying the content because there's cool things happening on a screen. Like you can do that. Another one is I think it's Fuzzy Loom Design. She does like tumbler engraving. They basically have a small business that grew into a huge business, and like she just talks about the business and her day, and she does live packaging on TikTok, and it's almost all voiceover. For a while, I didn't even know what she looked like. She delivers it so well, and like I study that, but like my content, I wanted to do like tips or packaging or whatever, but like it's not my content. You know, I do a lot of shipping and stuff, but I don't do content around it. But I really enjoy the way she delivers it. So find, like we were talking about earlier, studying, find content you enjoy and mimic it. You know, mimicking, you know, like there's nothing original out there. Like,
one of the things that Scott, John, and I talked a lot about maybe like a year and a half ago is find also content that you don't like and ask yourself why you don't like it.
And why it's successful.
Why it's successful, sure, but why don't you like it? Because the reason is you know more about yourself through what you don't like than what you do like in some situations. And
that's if you find,
and if you find like, oh, that woodworker is doing that, that's such a cliche, or that's such a whatever thing to do, ask yourself, some other people don't think that way. Why do you think that way? And who are you that has that opinion, and what does that mean about you? Because you'll find your own voice through challenging those cliches, and that might give you an impetus on what could your potential content look like.
I love it. It's great. Dan, do you have anything to add before we jump into what's on a bench?
Yeah, I actually do. You know, it's all fine and dandy. We can talk about this all day long, but the truth of the matter is, like, nobody really knows the correct formula of what actually works, and not everything that we're talking about works for everybody. Heck, you could be listening to this podcast 2-3 years from now, and it's going to be all like it means nothing because everything has changed so much. I mean, there could be a new social media platform that just takes over and it's completely different. So, you know, take all this with a grain of salt. We're all just people who think we know what we're talking about, and truth of the matter is nobody really knows the correct formula.
100%. And I think that's a great point, Dan. And you know, I often see folks that come on to podcasts, not necessarily this one, but come in and talk about like, this is the way to do it, this is how you should think about it. It's just an opinion and a perspective. And so I hope all of you guys listening understand that this is just an opinion and perspective that I have as an individual at this point in time. That's probably going to change and evolve over time as well. But hopefully it makes you think, and hopefully it gets you going to a point where you are going from a point of, oh, I should probably make YouTube videos, to I'm going to make my first YouTube videos. Because that's really the whole point of this, right?
Right.
It's not to say this is how you should do everything, because if you followed all of the advice that I have, your content, you might as well like, listen, show up and say, hey guys, this is Suman from Woodcraft by Suman, and blah, 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 right? You need to give yourself some space to be that's uniquely you. So yeah, definitely take it with a grain of salt.
You talked about how what people like is predictability. And I think you can say that, and we talked about personality. If your personality is the predictable part, that's all you really need. I mean, you could, as long as you're like, we talked about niching down, and like Suman does testing and reviews or whatever, but as long as like you're in the realm of, let's say, woodworking or making, I think that's fine, as long as your personality is the predictable factor.
You're the product. Well. We've talked about this before. You're the product. Sell it.
You are the product.
Hey, you know, I would say Bourbon Moth is a classic, fantastic example of personality driving.
He can do whatever. He's the product.
He does builds. He does reviews. He does tips and tricks.
Yeah, he could make a channel about homesteading, and he could do really well in that because his personality will carry it.
I watch a few homesteading channels, and what brings me back are the people's personalities. So
yep, exactly.
Well, speaking of homesteading,
what's on my
bench? let's go into what's on our bench. Dan, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah.
What's going on this week in your bench?
Well, you'll be surprised to know that I've been keeping up with Etsy orders.
Hey,
you know what? I think it was last week. I talked about how my Etsy shop has been under like reserve or
investigation.
Investigation.
That
has actually, you know,
Etsy.
when that first happened, I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be terrible. But you know what? It has been great for accountability. It is keeping me on my toes. I don't think I've ever gotten orders out faster than I have in the last couple of weeks. Like,
That's great.
as soon as an order comes in, it's going out that day or the next day, which I will admit that I get a little lax. So like my products say they'll go out in 3 to 5 days, but it's actually 7 days because Etsy gives you the weekend for free. So I would wait until the last day to send stuff out, which isn't the greatest business practice. But with the orders being in reserve and not getting money until the orders are delivered, it's kept me more accountable. So I've been keeping up, which is nice.
That's amazing, dude.
It's not amazing that I'm in this situation, but I'm trying to see the silver lining here, right?
Progress is always good.
Yeah. And then, so also last week I talked about how I was going to go to my brother's wedding and I was going to photograph his wedding, and that went okay. I won't get into the details there, but after the wedding, I had a medical emergency. I do not recommend that for anybody. I had no idea it was coming. Kidney stones are the real deal, you guys. Oh my God. And Suman, you work in the medical field, so you can testify that like this is one of the most painful experiences a person can have. It's
my understanding that it is one of the most painful experiences a human being
0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
It's male childbirth, I hear.
Look, I'm sure I might get some flack from our female listeners, but I've read online, and I don't have anything to compare it to, obviously, as I'm not a female. But I've read online that it's worse than childbirth, and I'm willing to agree with that.
Even with,
it was so bad. So I was laying in the emergency room, just screaming my head off and just writhing in pain. And luckily, I had a friend there with me because we were up in Minneapolis, like I said, and my wife stayed home with the children, my 2 kids plus her 2 kids. So my friend drove me to the emergency room because at the time we had no idea what the hell was going on. I was just like in a lot of pain. As a matter of fact, I thought that I had an appendix burst. I still have my appendix too. So I was like, oh God, my appendix burst. Take me to the hospital. I'm going to die. So anyway, they pumped me full of like this medication, this pain reliever medication. What's it called? Dilly Dally? Come on, you know the name.
Dilaudid.
That stuff was fantastic. It relaxed me so good that apparently I passed the kidney stone while I was laying in bed and I didn't even feel it. So that was my weekend last weekend. It was so good. Then we got home. And none of this has to do with woodworking, but I'm going to ramble on anyway. Then we got home on Monday. So back up a little bit. My wife and daughter are going to the big Taylor Swift concert in Denver. My wife got tickets through Ticketmaster when they went on sale way back in November. And apparently that's like a really hard ticket to get, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand. I'm not going. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan, although I do like watching her. Anyway, that's another story.
She's easy on the eyes.
She's a good-looking girl.
She's not bad. So yeah,
my wife to date her just because I wanted a song written about me.
Is that why? That's the only reason?
Yeah, because every breakup it becomes a song. That's why she has like 70 songs in her set.
Peter, they actually made a show about you. It's called Family Guy.
Oh.
Oh my God! Who the hell cares?
Perfection. That was perfect.
Do you like how I had that ready?
Yeah.
So anyways, my wife and daughter and a couple of my daughter's friends are going to the Taylor Swift show in Denver next month in July, I think. Anyways, we came home and on Monday I got a text from Ticketmaster, but it looked a little suspect. It looked a little sus. And yeah, as the kids would say, it looked sus. And it gave me a link and it gave me some like login information, and I showed it to my wife before I deleted it. Normally I would just like delete those because I don't know about you guys, but I get like tons of scammy text messages these days. It sucks having your life online because you get all kinds of scammy crap come at you. Anyways, I showed it to my wife. And I was like, look, just go directly to Ticketmaster. Don't click the link in the text and log in with this information and see what happens. And apparently it worked. My wife was able to snag floor tickets to the Taylor Swift concert in Kansas City. So not only are they going to Denver, but now they're going to go to Kansas City, and they got floor tickets for face value at like $350 a piece. Those tickets are going for $12,000 a piece online.
Sell them.
Dude, I am telling you, I have been begging and pleading with my wife and daughter to sell them because daddy needs a new pair of shoes and a new shop. But it's not
A new shop.
I need a new
Asterisk
pair of
and a new
flip-flops and another anyway.
5x10 ACC.
Do you have any idea how many chiladas that buys?
Oh, that would buy so many chiladas, you guys. Anyway, my week has just been standard, so I had to fluff it up a little bit with Taylor Swift and kidney stone content.
Dude, it sounds like a very expensive venture in both ways. Like medical emergencies are expensive. Then it looks like you won the lottery on some T-Swift tickets.
Oh, that's another thing. Like, we should sell those tickets because I'm going to have some medical bills to pay.
Exactly.
I can't believe you saw Taylor Swift and the Stones in 1 week.
You son of.
It was rolling too. It had to roll.
I think it dribbled. It was more of a dribbling stone.
It doesn't gather moss.
Anyway, I want to hear what Suman's working on.
Yeah, what's on your bench, bro?
So lately I feel like my time in the shop has been very, very challenging to get a hold of. And so I started this project that should have been like a 1 hour thing, but it's still sitting on my bench as I'm looking at it. So I've got a whole bunch of chisels that I want to be able to like make a holder for and mount somewhere behind me right there. And so they're sitting on my bench. At some point I'm going to make a holder for them and mount those little suckers. So that's pretty much it.
That's it? No other projects? Any videos you're working on?
So I'm actually working on the script right now. So I'm working on a video about sawdust. Well, not sawdust. I
already saw Jean's video. I don't need yours.
Fair enough. That's a dust collection video, but
featuring sawdust.
Featuring sawdust, yeah. KJ was not invited. But so I'm making a video on, and I'm kind of apprehensive about it. I think as somebody who's in the healthcare medical profession, I don't really like my job to intersect with my content, but in this case I think I really want to do it. So basically human health, everything you need to know about human health when it comes to being a woodworker. And so it'll cover topics like sawdust exposure, what that means for you, because I think too many people think sawdust can give you cancer. Truthfully, there's like very little chance of that happening. Only from my research, and I need to do more research, but only nasal cancer, I think chances of that goes up by 2.8 times or so for woodworkers, occupational woodworkers, not like hobbyist woodworkers.
Can I get toe cancer from wearing flip-flops in the shop?
I don't think so.
Keep dropping things.
Okay, cool.
So that's going to be one of the topics I want to cover is sawdust and exposure, but also good finishes and bad finishes. So you've got some finishes that are just absolutely horrendous to the human body, and you should take no chances with them. And you've got some finishes that are supposedly decent finishes that's healthy for you in the grand scheme of things. And I'm going to try to show some data as to what that really means and if you should be mindful of those finishes or not.
Right on. That's gonna be awesome.
Am I gonna dislike when you talk about some of the finishes?
Oh, that one's not included. It's gonna be
very good. Okay. I can watch it. Good.
Rubio Monaco is going to be probably the star of that particular segment.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
But cool. There's like ways you can test these things. It's so funny. Like when you dig deeper and deeper into like these so-called green zero VOC finishes, and you look at their certification and all of that, and you actually open those certification criteria and the testing criteria they use, and they have a threshold, and it's never zero.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to dive into that. And look, I'm not trying to be scandalous in any way, but just really present the information for what it is. because when it comes to volatile organic compounds, by and large, a good chunk of them, there's like 5,000 plus different volatile organic compounds, and they have like varying degrees of how bad they are for you. But generally speaking, you should take no chances with volatile organic compounds because they're kind of synonymous with something called reactive oxygen species, which is kind of a precursor to what has the potential to cause cancer. So all of that jargon to say, zero VOC finishes, that should sound like an oxymoron to you because something has to evaporate for that finish to be a finish that hardens in some capacity. And what evaporates needs to properly be evaluated for, is it actually volatile and can it do you harm or not?
Interesting.
So wireless dust collection is also yeah, right.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's, and I think people tend to take those zero VOC labels, or it's a green finish, or they obviously come in green labels because they want to impress the color green to you as much as possible. And
green is safe.
Green is safe. Green is healthy. Green is delicious. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of bring that topic to the light, just because I think
interesting. I'm looking forward to that video.
It's one of those things, like, I'm not happy to have that conversation in the sense that it's way too close to what I do for my work. But because I don't want to come off as an, oh, well, I have so-and-so degrees in this, blah, 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 therefore you should listen to me. That's such a weird...
You should just do your talking head with you sitting behind or sitting in front of your degrees hanging on the wall.
And you can cite you can cite yourself on heart research too.
Yeah, right.
You're published weekly.
Apparently.
Wrong, Suman.
That dude is crushing it. I mean, like, he's still publishing.
He's a content creator.
He's making heart content.
Yeah.
So it's a topic that I don't really feel comfortable talking about in that regard, being completely transparent. Because like my day job is in respiratory diseases, and then I develop drugs for respiratory illnesses of different types. And so I'm still going to talk about it. I think it's worthwhile, and I think people should.
I think it's important.
This has a potential of being a very buzzworthy video, something along the lines of like Bourbon Moth's fire in a shop one.
It's not that sexy, right? Like when you have...
I've seen you, man. You do okay.
10 seconds.
So I mean, with Bourbon Moth's video, there's something very tangible, right, that you can see and go, wow, like that's crazy. And the thing is, with finishes, you don't see them, and that's kind of the point. You don't see them, but they're deadly to you.
You want a sexy intro? Here's what you do: put some sawdust in your mouth, or like flour if you want to, like, not actually, or oatmeal. There you go. Oatmeal looks like sawdust.
Oatmeal. Yes,
put oatmeal in your mouth, and just like just like cough it out and be like, let's talk sawdust, and then
there you go.
Intro, sexy intro, whatever.
Or I just take a 2-part Rubio monocoat, mix it, and just like take a shot of it, and it's like it's healthy, right? It's green.
It's just like a cup of tea, like dump like a Rubio thing, and it's into a teacup.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure the people over at Rubio would even tell you not to do that.
Yeah, it says on the can, not for consumption.
Okay. All right. I don't want to get AWP in trouble here for people taking shots at Rubio. Well, they said you can do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I'm not doing that at all. But no, I do.
These are the expressed opinions of Suman and not of Dan and Pete.
I do have like these mannequin heads that you can just buy off of Amazon.
Really?
They're meant for like props for like hats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think when you try to buy it, it pairs it with like a 1.5-inch Forstner bit too.
Mine came with a 1/4 inch, but okay.
I do not want to be here anymore.
So in any case, I bought one of these mannequins. It's in my shop, and sometimes I'll do a story and it's just randomly there and people are creeped out by it. And so the reason why I have it is because I want to simulate an artificial human lung, so to speak. And so instead of saying like, oh, I applied this finish and here's what this environment tests out to be for VOCs, I actually want to like put a mask on the mannequin and like try to filter the air through it into its lung, so to speak, and then measure the VOCs there on good filtration, setups versus a bad filtration setup. Like, because some people have their technique of covering from a finish is this.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
and I would
Yeah.
like to demonstrate how effective that is. with
Dan
the
thinks just because
mannequin.
the garage door's open, he's fine.
I got fans on too.
Right. Jeez.
Blows all the bad stuff out.
Yep.
That's
does
awesome. It's gonna be a
job.
great video. I can't
Anyways, we're talking about this as Suman's talking. I had to turn off my mic and cough.
Cough.
I wonder what that's
I
from.
don't know why. Yeah.
I've been smoking since I was 9. Go. Sorry.
But yeah, so that's my way of trying to sexify that video is by
Sexify.
having that mannequin at the simulated human lung, even though the data from that is practically useless because it's not like good clean data,
But
but it will demonstrate a point.
Look, if I
Sexy
learned
guy.
anything by watching Mythbusters, you need to have a pig lung with a silicone
Yep.
mannequin thing.
That would be amazing. I wish somebody's PETA is gonna come for my ass if I did that.
But then at the end, you have to like blow up the head. Like this is your brain. This is your brain on VOCs, and just explodes at the end.
There you go. If you use any of these ideas, we get 10% of the viewer
Yeah.
monetization or
You
whatever.
want it
it is.
sexy? You came to the right place.
Petey, what is on your bench?
My bench. It's actually been a pretty busy week. Almost none of it woodworking related, I don't think. But what?
Neither was mine.
Well, what part of it was? So the van is back from its maiden voyage with all the new cabinetry in there. Carmine's
Nice.
van.
Randy Bovandy.
Randy Bovandy. Yep. is the
I
name
love
of
that
the-
name. I don't know
Yeah.
why I've never forgot that name. I forget a
Yeah,
lot of
Randy
things.
Bovandy, the van. So I put in a bunch of cabinets in there, built it all out, kind of put temporary tops on there, but everything was super good. There was no squeaking, rattling, nothing while they were driving around. And
Nice.
we're gonna start working on all the rest of the cabinetry, the doors, and start plumbing stuff out for some of the water lines, some more of the electrical, and then start on the cabinetry overhead. And the big project is going to be, I'm designing so he's got a futon mattress in there. It's a standard queen. It's like less than a queen size. It's roughly a queen size mattress, but it's very bendy. You know,
According to White Men Can't Jump, Wesley Snipes, futons are better for your back.
Yes, a great reference to a good movie.
I watched that like a couple nights ago when
Oh,
he
did
said
you?
that. I was like, oh, futons are better for the back.
Futons, yeah. So the idea, right now, what Carmine is doing is because he's sleeping the length of the van because he can't have it sideways because he's just too tall. He would be hitting his head, or he has to sleep diagonal. So lengthwise, so we have to like pull out the platform. But then when he drives, or if they're trying to use the table or in a seating area, you have to push that platform back, push the mattress back, and he has to like get back there and like lift the back of it so that it will like fold up like a couch almost. So what I want to do is essentially design a futon bed thing where like you'll actually push it and it'll kind of like latch while going up automatically. So we'll turn it into a couch in a way.
Wow.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you'll kind of like unlatch it and slide it out, and then you're back in bed
I
mode.
feel like you could probably use Unistrout for that, right?
What's
For the
that?
sliding, for the Unistrout with the carriage on it.
Oh yeah. That's something I considered. Yes. But a part of me wanted to like almost mimic, because we have a Maxis futon in a basement, and I kind of wanted to mimic the slots, because the slots it's just metal hardware riding in wood.
Yeah,
And I kind of want to mimic that and see if I can get it to work in a way that can like engage and disengage easily enough for them to do it.
for sure.
Max, your brother-in-law, not my dog, right?
Yes, your dog is not storing his futon in.
I didn't think so, but I wanted to
I'm
be sure.
glad you checked.
Your
Yeah, people
dog
get
has a
confused.
second family, okay?
He may.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Are you
going on a
cheating on
business
me?
trip. So aside from that, I helped my neighbor dig a trench for a French drain because he got a new driveway and it was pulling up with all the water and stuff. So I was helping him out, and I must have tweaked something in my shoulder, and then I kept helping him, and I kept working on my own projects and making my shoulder worse and worse. So the last 2 days especially, I've been in pretty severe pain right at the joint. So I don't know if I have like I don't know what a torn rotator
Did you get a
cuff
kidney
is,
stone in
but,
your shoulder?
I got a kidney stone in my shoulder.
Man, that's
So
Does
I'm
Emma
icing
know?
it.
Does
know.
Emma know that you were helping your neighbor and you were laying down some pipes there?
Laying down pipe. Yes.
Oh,
With Bill, the man.
I believe that. Dear
Not-
listeners, I
irrelevant.
believe
Not
that's
the
a
wife.
sexual innuendo.
In your endo.
Oh,
So anyways, hurt my shoulder. So like I'm coming off this whole thing with my wisdom teeth getting pulled out. And now I'm on medication, like pain medication for my shoulder, although the ibuprofen's not really doing enough. So tomorrow I'm getting it checked out and I'm getting a sling tomorrow morning just to like help me carry it around. But that's
Do you know how I know we're old, Pete?
why.
Because our what's on our bench now includes our medical problems.
Medical things. And we should,
What the hell is going on?
Dan, find like a beep, beep, like a medical thing.
Oh my god, it is so true, man. It's
Sitting around having coffee, talking about what's
Yeah.
wrong with you now.
I pressed a kidney stone. Okay, aside from that, so my buddy Joe that lives 2 doors down, he helped me hook up the electrical and we started running all the piping for the mini split. So that's going to be going in this week.
very
And
nice.
I cannot tell you how quickly I got shut down by HVAC guys when I would call up and like, hey, can you come out and just vacuum out the lines? Because the unit is preloaded, but the lines need to get vacuumed out.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Can't you just siphon it
washing
like
their
a
hands
gallon
of
of
it.
gas?
Oh, I wish, man, but they
You
they
can't
put
do
a
that?
stopper thing. No, not anymore.
Man.
It's not the 80s anymore, Dan. But like how quickly they shut it down and were like, well, we didn't install it, we can't do it. And then the one that I actually got not even a yes yet from, it's like we'll let you know. They
Well,
can't see
maybe.
me for like 2 weeks. And I finally was just like, I just need to vacuum out these lines. How hard could it be? The pump's like $130 on Amazon with the full
Yep.
kit, everything, all the fittings. I watched a bunch of videos on it and asked some people in the community.
Dude,
and it's like literally the easiest thing to
Just
do.
call Scott Walsh. He knows how to do it, and
He just that's right. He just did it for his. Yeah.
yeah.
I think he's got the same unit. He's got a
Yeah,
Pioneer.
Probably.
Yeah.
Buy the
I
pump
talked to Michael
and do it
Hurley because he
yourself.
just hooked up his,
Yeah.
and he had a neighbor do it, but he literally like what he told me is what I researched online, like word for word. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
the
Dude,
easiest thing ever.
With all due respect to like the people trying to make a living and all of that, like they,
An
you know-
HVAC.
yeah, you know what that tells you? It tells you that they're gatekeepers. Like that's all
Yeah,
they're doing. Like
it's
you know,
it very much felt like that. They like the two places I called, they didn't even like want to entertain it, and I was like, come on, it's just vacuum out the lines. Come on.
So you said the pump
Yeah.
is like 130?
130 with all the accessories, and honestly, I might be paying
You know
more.
that if somebody actually came out to your shop and did that for you, it would be like over $200. It would
It'd
be
be
an over
easily-
$200 bill.
but they're not
easily
even
over
doing
150.
that, though. That's the thing. They don't even want to do that. Like
Yeah.
if they had like a service call, you know, whatever, like $75 for the service call and then $150 an hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're there for whatever period of time. Like how hard is it to take that job and do that? They clearly don't want to because they're like,
Yeah.
we don't want to help you, basically, is what it comes down to. If you're not buying the whole package from us that we fluff up with high expenses,
Exactly.
We don't
Which is
wanna
more-
help
Which
you.
I get it. You got to feed the
Yeah.
family. You know, you got to
get
put
it,
dino
yeah.
nuggets on a table. But like,
get it,
there's
yeah.
a place that like you got to help the community out. And these are all local places I'm reaching out to. I'm not
Yeah.
hitting up some big place. Just like trying to give business to the guys in the neighborhood. But whatever. Aside from that, so I'm going to be doing that with my neighbor. I'm very excited to do it and hopefully not screw it up. But the mini split's going in. I do unfortunately have the window unit that's facing the front of my house and the road. So I'm the trashy house on the block with the window unit.
Welcome
know.
to my world. I am the trashy house on the block. I got empty pallets and all kinds of stuff out front.
Yeah. So the last thing on my bench is I was touching on it a little bit with running your content or whatever as like a business basically.
Oh, that re-
And I have now like Emma has been basically full-time this whole week with Petrie's Workshop. And
that's awesome.
if the last 4 days are any indication of how things are going to go forward, it is the best decision we have ever made. And I should have asked her to do this a year ago. She is the first week was a little scary because like we had to figure out processes and we had to figure out, I was basically teaching her everything and every step, and it was taking me twice as long to do the tasks.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of tasks, like even something like she's going through my entire backlog of content. She's grabbing the videos off my phone. She's grabbing the caption off of Instagram. And because I always prioritize Instagram for the post and then
Mhm.
try to do TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, all other stuff. And she's going through and she's cross posting them and she's scheduling them out. Like she's got me scheduled out on all the auxiliary platforms, like Facebook, Shorts, and
That's amazing.
YouTube. And TikTok, well, TikTok, you have to do drafts, but she's going through and she's posting 2 to 3 a day
Wow.
as a backlog. And I'm already seeing those accounts growing now and getting traction. And, you know, like you think like, yeah, we're freaking out like, oh, well, where's the money going to come from? Whatever. And I'm like, Well, both my Facebook and my TikTok are, and this is going back to the content creation part, are just about to hit, or TikTok's almost at 10K. Facebook is creeping up there. It's at like 6 and change or 7K. As soon as those hit 10K, both of those are eligible for certain monetization. Now, granted, TikTok right now is not paying out a lot, but there are certain, it opens up the door for you if you do that to some of these like things that they do a couple times a year where you can like really push a promotion or something. And with Facebook, I'm already getting ads on Reels, but if I can get ads on full video, like that's more money coming in. And I'm not making, I'm not raking in money on Facebook right now, but it's a couple $100 every single month that just comes in. So it's nice. You know, it's like we can finally see a correlation between like doing this and potentially making money. One thing I forgot to mention, like, because we're running this like a business, we're really trying to talk to people that are in this place already, or they're at where we want to be in a couple of years, a couple of months. And we, Brad from Fix This Build That, and Susan, his wife, were nice enough to hop on a call with us, which had for like 2 hours. And it Brad was so eye-opening. Oh my God, Brad is the man. Like, I've talked to him in the past, but just getting
Brad knows what he's doing.
And just seeing how they work together, I was like, this is awesome. You guys are like killing it. This is exactly where we want to be. And luckily, me and Emma like genuinely enjoy each other's company. Like, we hang out all day and then like we still want to hang out together. It does help a lot. But we're between that and then like reaching out to brands, sending emails. Like, she's handling emails for me already. Like, already just responding to things, or she just like reads them to me as we're like getting ready for stuff. And I was like, I'll respond to this one, or here's what I want to say to this. She'll write little drafts. She reads them to me, and then I say what to send out. It has been incredible, and it's getting me like really fired up because I'm running every other aspect now of what I'm doing like a business.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, because this is not a full-time thing for me. This is like I was saying earlier, I do woodworking and turning and whatever, and like I also do content. Like, that's how it's felt up until now, even though I've been trying to make it a thing. This week, it officially feels like I am a content creator and a maker, like side by side. These are two separate things that I do. One revolves around the other, but it is two separate, very distinct things, and they need to be bringing in money separately. So it's been really, really cool to see this thing already start, like, because I was panicking the last 2 weeks. We were like, well, how are we going to make money? What are we going to do? And now already seeing just like the first, like, you know, first little like sparks of this fire, like, so stoked. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get into questions.
Hold on, one thing.
What's up?
You reminded me of something. So we were talking earlier about how creating content isn't super easy, and it's not very intuitive. You kind of have to know what you're doing. There's a lot to learn. So Kayla wanted to come out into the shop with me yesterday for who knows what. I think she was bored. And I was like, okay, you can record something for me. I had to cut up a bunch of acrylic for bow tie templates because I needed some and I ran out. Anyway, I give her my phone, and me just not thinking, I just thought it was like pretty simple to record somebody. Right. I give her my phone. She records the whole process, you know, start to finish. It was like a 3 or 4 minute video. I get the video, and it's just my face. I'm like, you didn't get any of the action of the thing I was doing? She's like, well, I thought people come to see you. I'm like, nobody wants to see my face. They want to see what I'm doing.
Does she not watch your content?
Clearly not. Anyway, I thought that was funny because when you started talking about how Emma was helping you, I was like, oh, that's why Kayla doesn't.
That's one of the things that she's going to be stepping in to do as well, is actually record certain things. Because
that would be nice.
One of my new, and it's, sorry, now I'm going on a tangent. One of my new things that I've started noticing with certain videos that I've been enjoying, and I've been trying to figure out what it is. It's natural camera sway. Very natural, smooth camera sway. And some people do it in, I don't know, like I've seen you do it in your videos where you're just panning long form shot, you know, so there's a like movement back and forth, but this is like someone actually recording, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying content involving a cameraman.
It gives it that reality TV feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's more than that. It's also so when you have a camera on a tripod, you know, recording, it feels very static, right? And you also feel like you're watching through a window, as opposed to when you have when you have a live person recording and things are moving a little bit, there's two things you can do. One is you can interact with the camera person. And when you do that, it's like you're interacting with the viewer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And at the same time, it gives it the perspective of being in the shop with you. And so people have a stronger, more closer relation to the presenter and the person in the video because of it. And so that's always like a really, really good thing. And you'll notice if you watch Cam's video now, over the last 5 or 6 of them, he's included Peter or Scott. His cameraman's name is Scott. Many times, and he's doing it more and more and more and more of Scott integration into his videos, and it gives it so much more of that you're in the shop with him quality. It goes even further than that. Now I think in some of his videos he will, the intro, the first 30 seconds, every content creator that makes YouTube videos are hyper focused on those first 30 seconds. And I think I've seen him do one where he's literally talking to Scott in the beginning within that first 30 seconds. That, if that's not prime time, I don't know what is. And that is definitely intentional. It is not a mistake.
Yeah, I've been I just watched last night Simone Gertz, or Simone Yetch is the pronunciation. Her videos, she's very much like, she's a maker, and she has someone recording, and it's legit just a conversation. She's talking directly to them. It feels so personal, like she's actually chatting with you and like having these emotions in the video of something breaking or whatever, and like talking with you about it. It's like, wow, this is so well done. And like the camera sway like just makes it feel like you're there. In the
That's
VR
what I
something.
loved about having Isaiah in the shop with me.
Yeah,
those videos we were making were fantastic. I wish I could find somebody else to do that.
You will.
But I wish that they would only take like $5 a day for payments. That's the real crux of the
Dude.
Right, well,
yeah.
We should get into questions because we got a couple good ones here.
We're already an hour in. We need to get into questions. We got like 100 of them.
Now I'm gonna switch it up, Dan, for the intro for the voicemails. But don't worry, I put the audio in a folder, so you got it. Ready? Okay. Let's listen to some voicemails.
Hot Pocket.
That's Dan saying hot pockets. All right, so let's start with, let's start with Malcolm, since Suman's gonna have a very long, drawn out answer for this one.
Hey guys, it's Malcolm.
Long and drawn out. That sounds like my nickname.
Suman, we talked about this a little bit online, but I missed your talk at WorkbenchCon over short form video content, and I'm wondering if you could take a few minutes to just highlight some of the main points since it wasn't recorded. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Suman?
Nothing I said at WorkbenchCon is relevant anymore.
If you want an actual answer to that, go back and listen to the first hour of this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the thing is, these platforms change so often, particularly platforms like Instagram. And I haven't really, to be very frank, I haven't really spent the time to study and understand what seems to work best on Instagram right now. It's definitely slightly longer than it was before. It's definitely more on the comedic side than before. But I don't know. And so the things that I talked about during WorkbenchCon when it comes to short format content and Instagram is no longer relevant. But I think YouTube is still relevant, where people want to see more of the process. So even if you're doing a short that's 60 seconds long, they kind of seem to do better if they're on the longer side, closer towards that 60 seconds. And they do better when you show the steps a lot more. Instagram is instant gratification. They want to see the results. YouTube, I think we still have that, historical background of people sitting down wanting to watch long form content. And so they seem to have a little bit more patience and they want to see the process a little bit more. So make them longer, show more process, more steps into short formats on YouTube. Instagram, I don't know.
And I'm going to add to that, Malcolm, because I was in that class watching Suman talk about everything. And my biggest takeaway with it wasn't so much the different platforms, which is the stuff that he's saying is now irrelevant. It was the stuff that is forever relevant, which is the how do you catch someone's attention in under 10 seconds, under 5 seconds, under 1 second. Like, and the thing is, it's sexy shots, it's angle changes, it's movement, it's just good, clear video. And like you want to bring the person into whatever project, especially when he's doing all the tool stuff, tool demos, or showing something get, just something sharpened or whatever. You can really see the details of the beveled edge and all that stuff. So like that will never change. Like think of each shot as a sexy thing. We all tend to set up the camera and just shoot a couple different angles maybe. I definitely think of more angles now, because sometimes it'll just be like one angle and then we cut up that video. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 different angles for that same video. Still not as good as what Suman does into his. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go through his feed. You'll see what I'm talking about. A subtle little movement, a pan or something really makes a difference in catching your eye.
Yeah, and understanding human psychology and trying to tweak with it a little bit. Like, why does this capture a person's attention, and how can you intentionally drive that in your content? I think it's always going to be relevant. That's never going to change.
Right on.
So,
Dan?
Have large breasts and show a lot of cleavage. Boom.
it
You'll be
works
famous.
60% of the time, every time.
My boobies don't
It
know.
always works. Well, you don't have big enough ones, Pete. I'm sorry.
All right. Next question is from Joseph.
Hey guys, my name is Yoseph, long-time listener, first-time caller, big fan of the podcast and also big fan of Suman. So I have a question for you guys. When you just started and you don't have a lot of followings, how do you make sure that your content is seen by people? Do you share it on Reddit? Do you have a Facebook group that you share to? Or do you just pray to the algorithm god that your content will go viral? Or maybe you just shamelessly plug yourself on a podcast. Follow me on YCmakes on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you.
So smooth. I love it.
Not bad.
Yosef, all of the above, my dude. When you first start out, and even when you are past 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers, you never stop hyping yourself. It is a grind from start to finish. You are the marketing manager. You are everything. So never stop. You stop people on the street and you even say, hey, check out my Instagram. I need more followers, please.
you drop your fire mixtape to a random stranger on the streets of New York City.
Everything.
So, Dan, respectfully, bud, I think I'm going to disagree with you completely on that.
Hey, what do I know? My content has been good for a year and a half at least.
Opinions.
So.
We don't have this kind of controversy usually.
You'll notice that even when I publish a video on YouTube, I will never share it directly on Instagram. And I have a reason.
But he's talking about when you first start. You aren't just first starting currently. Fair
enough. But there's a kind of like a string of thought into that. So the thing is, YouTube algorithm, Instagram algorithm are incredibly good. That is the heart of what they are, is how well those algorithms work at feeding the right kind of content to the right kind of an audience. And so if you focus on producing the best content that you can, trust me, it will find an audience. And so I would say work backwards. You don't have to, because with all due respect, like I don't want my friends to watch my content necessarily, because they're not necessarily my audience. They're my friends. If the type of content that I'm showing to my friends, like they might like it that particular moment in time because they're trying to support me and they're good people, but that doesn't mean they're going to continue to watch my content. While contrasted to that, if the algorithm organically finds the appropriate viewer for the type of content that I'm producing, and I'm reasonably consistent with my content, that person is going to be a loyal audience for a while. And so I try to let the algorithm do its thing, let the content speak for itself, and really just focus on making the best content possible.
So are you saying, no, we're not going to let this go. So are you saying that when you first started out, you didn't cross post, you didn't do any of that stuff?
Oh, I did. But I'm not saying that I would do that again.
Okay. But he's asking, when you are first starting out, how do you promote your stuff? How do you get those initial first views?
I think I posted the first maybe 3 or 4 of my YouTube videos on Reddit woodworking. But it honestly had a detrimental effect. I think it dropped my average view duration. The click-through rate was a little higher. You can kind of tweeze out those data in YouTube, and you can tell they're just not loyal. Those hoes ain't loyal. Like people coming from.
In the long run, obviously
Yeah,
you want
yeah.
loyal viewers, but when
Yeah.
you are first starting out, you need to get some sort of traction. Like
No,
you're like in a mud hole, your tires are spinning, you need a little traction to help. And I think having a little bit of viewership from somewhere is helpful. Yeah.
I think that the trajectory of
I think you're both wrong, but okay.
I think the trajectory of how
You'll have a
well
chance to
you can
speak.
do while the algorithm is just doing its thing can take you way further than word of mouth. So
Okay. What we need is somebody to start up a channel and do what Suman is saying, and then somebody else start up a channel and do what I'm saying. We'll see who gets farther.
Right.
DDWW2 and Suman 2.
I'll just do double D's.
All right, Pete, what do you got to add
Double
to
D's
this?
woodworking. Trust
Honestly,
me,
so,
the algorithm will find that.
Oh yeah, I will. I wonder why.
I think you have to, when you're starting out, you have to try everything. And by try everything, I mean try different types of content and try different platforms. So I say, cross posts or whatever, but try different things. And you never know, you might be, your content might start blowing up on TikTok because TikTok favors whatever content you're doing. Maybe you're doing more talking head stuff. Maybe you just do a lot of ASMR, which does really well on IG and YouTube Shorts. Like, you gotta just find your community, not just of other content creators and other makers, but your community of your audience. You have to find your audience, and in the beginning, I think you don't need to necessarily niche down immediately. Cast a wide net and see what sticks.
That's what I'm saying. As
you're
you're spinning
wrong,
your
Dan.
wheels, and you're stuck in that hole, when you see that your tires got traction, go after that.
But
Do that
chase,
thing. But
chase
until
the
then,
community.
you need to
audience.
try everything. You need to be promoting yourself. You need to be doing all those things
see.
until you
I
get
see.
the traction. Then you hyper focus on that thing.
No, I do think
I see.
you're both right. Like and listen, we said this earlier in the.
That's
in
what
the
Yosef
episode.
was asking when you first start out.
There is no right answer for you.
No, there's
Yosef,
not.
Like you could just decide that tomorrow you're like, you know what, I am just gonna post on Facebook.
There's no right answer, but
6
I'm the
months.
rightest of these answers. Let's go.
You're left wing liberal. Get out of here. What? I don't know. I'm just insulting you. But no, Yosef, tomorrow you could start posting on Facebook only, and in 6 months you could be making $5K a month or something like that on
who knows?
on ad revenue. Like you never know what might work.
I used
and you
to
might
make a lot of
never
money
be on
on
another
Facebook.
platform.
I remember
So
those days. It was fun.
There's growth that can happen anywhere, even Twitter.
And one of the things I think both of you guys pointed out that is worth keeping in mind is to try things, because because there's a lot you learn even from the things that don't work, right? So it's okay to try things out as opposed to being fearful of, oh, that might not work, oh, it might not get views, because if you don't post something, it will absolutely not work and it will absolutely not get views.
Best time to
You
experiment.
miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
All right. Speaking of Michael Scott, Kimani.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I've been catching up on the podcast during my commute. So, Pete, if you are still looking for an accountability buddy, I will be your accountability buddy because I have some content and stuff I need to get done as well. So, as your potential accountability buddy, how are those battery holder designs going?
Shut your face.
And when's that video coming out? And Dan, not trying to tell you how you run your life, but buddy, if you go ahead and sell those Taylor Swift tickets, you probably just pay off your mortgage. Just gonna throw it out there.
I know, man.
Probably buy a new Trail Boss. I'm just saying those things are hot tickets.
I think about it all the time.
And Suman, I didn't get a chance to see your presentation at Workbench Con, but I heard a lot of good things. So my question for you is, with the way you produce content and the way Instagram is always changing their algorithm and how they show people stuff, have you seen a noticeable change or drop off in your viewership with your reels and your content? And if so, what changes have you made to either counteract that, or you just, keep doing what you're doing and, it ebbs and flows? So yeah, just seeing how you adapt to the ever changing Instagram. Thanks. Bye.
It's a sexy question, Kimani. Suman.
So yeah, let's talk about Instagram and changes. One of the things that I absolutely despise about Instagram is the fact that they change things up so much and so frequently that it's annoying.
It's almost
to be
weekly,
honest.
it feels like.
Yeah, it's annoying. And so yes, I feel like Instagram is such a different landscape right now. At least for the US market that I can see, views have kind of gone down across the board for the most part. There's definitely folks who are continuing to see success, but I think most of the creators, at least in our space that I've seen, views have pretty much, I think, gone maybe, I don't know, I'd say maybe like 1/5 to 1/8 of what it was before. I can personally say, like, my stories used to reach, I think, 6,000 to 8,000 people, and right now it's probably 2,000 tops. So it has had quite a bit of an impact, and I don't know what the reasoning for that was, or because it's clearly a switch, right? It's not like my content suddenly changed, or the way I produce content suddenly changed to a big extent. It's the criterias and the goalposts have changed, and so it's okay. I think it's fair for Instagram to make those changes, but alongside those changes, they've also taken the paid model away, where they no longer compensate the creators, right? And now you kind of have to pay for play, so to speak, which I'm not seeing any benefits of the play
Same.
part.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think of, okay, let's tally up the Instagram as a platform here. They don't pay you for content that they use to make money through ad revenue. You pay them, there's virtually no benefit to. Um,
Oh, but
and
you get help if you need help.
sure. And now views are kind of like, they just like turn down the volume on views. Okay, so what is left for creators? Because it's definitely not a platform for creators anymore. And I can tell you, for me, I use Instagram as a way to keep connected to the community of folks that are there, and that's about it. As far as like my creative energy and what I see as a platform of choice for me, it's no longer on Instagram. As soon as they moved the pay model, I'm like, I don't give a shit about Instagram anymore, because it just goes to show like where their positions are about how they see their relationship with creators, the people that actually make them the money, and the people that actually produces content that keeps the people watching on their platform. And they basically said, fuck you. We don't give a shit. And so I don't care about Instagram in that regard, and I think that's part of the reason why my content output on Instagram has pretty much plummeted, and because I'm not keeping up with it, because I don't care to keep up with it. I will continue to keep in touch with the people that's in Instagram, but my focus is on YouTube, because YouTube has always been the gold standard for, I think, a model that's fair to content creators, and it's predictable. They give you so much,
Predictability.
yeah, they give you so much data to work with that if you are astute enough, you can put those data together into some actionable items for you to improve your next piece of content. And generally speaking, you don't get surprises on YouTube. Like, for the most part, you know what works and what doesn't work, and you can kind of pinpoint to why that is the case. There's always going to be the oddities and rarities. So so YouTube pays well, has been around a lot longer, lots of support. Oh, by the way, they also protect your copyright information way better than Instagram. Instagram doesn't give a shit if your content is copied by somebody else and stolen by somebody else. They just want the piece of content floating around. That's all they care about. And I know they have like digital rights management thing that you can use, but honestly, they make it so hard for,
It's so difficult.
yeah,
It's crazy.
to fight other people that stole your content. Like, so you have like, maybe you post 50 pieces of content in a given month. Other people can steal the 2 or 5 pieces of your content that work the best, and they just run with it in a channel that you can't chase down ever. And they make it impossible to do when it should be one of the easiest things to fight. If you were the first person to post it, there is data out there. You can analyze which video is mirroring each other. And if you're the first person to post it, it should flag to you, hey, this is a piece of content that was posted, appears to be yours. Do you want to refute it?
Yeah, they don't do a good job of that.
They don't do a job of it at all.
They don't do a job.
They do not give a flying fuck about you as a content creator. That's what it comes down to. And I know it's very strong words, but genuinely, like, not a single action that they've taken shows that. Yeah. But YouTube does care. They will absolutely reprimand if you steal other people's content and post it verbatim, you know?
Yeah.
And they will flag other people's content to you if it's copied. So it's just a better platform for creators. And I think they have a model that is fair. So that's where my energy is going to be focused, and that's where I'm going to be focused. Instagram is whatever.
Can I go next?
Yeah, dude.
Ditto.
Trito. This next one, we pretty much, and you, Suman, answered, but we have to play it because it's from Toma. So yeah.
Hey guys.
Wait, that's not. No, I'm sorry. I lied. I'm a liar. Okay.
Peter.
French. Hey guys. Sorry, Suman, I have to start with a rant on the video you made with Katz Moses on sharpening. How you guys spend a bunch of money and time to do such a test without even sharing or making one single graph? As a former neuroscience researcher, it makes me really, really sad. Alright, next. How do you choose the subject or the type of the content you make? The last project you shared on YouTube was like a year ago, and since then it's been mostly review or test. Did you shift your content because it attracted more viewers? Alright, bye guys.
Yeah, so quickly.
Suman, did you get all that?
Long time.
Yeah. So
did you get it?
I'm going to work it a little bit backwards. So first of all, I think being more selective with what type of content I want to produce. And for the longest time, I didn't have a good elevator speech for what kind of content that I'm going to produce on YouTube as a woodworker. And so I thought, okay, I'll try to do some build videos. And at the time, build videos weren't really working. And I'm like, do I have anything to add to build videos that other people aren't doing already? And I'm like, okay, I can be the jigs and fixture guy. I mean, Izzy Swan is, kind of like, he was easing down a little bit in content. And I was talking to him, I'm like, yo, Izzy, I kind of want to make, jigs and fixtures. It's like, dude, trigonometry, that shit works. And I'm like, you're right. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So I kind of tried that a little bit. But honestly, like, as much as I enjoy problem solving and making jigs and all of that, it was hard for me to like continue to just be passionate about that. And so then I realized, as much as I avoided it, I think mentally, I am a scientist. I like testing things. Is there a way I can bring, and woodworking nowadays, there's so much talking head videos that do well. And talking head videos are great, but there's a lot of opinions in talking head videos. I feel this. I think this. This could be better. No, I think you should buy this more. And I'm like, can I just cut through that bullshit and put some numbers that we can kind of compare? And can I find a way to test some things that add value to the conversation that is not based on opinions? There's wisdom and experience in woodworking and recommendations of certain things and all that. It's definitely there. But can I give you something objective and tangible? And so I thought, okay, I'm a scientist who likes testing things. I happen to be a woodworker, and I'm going to make testing videos. And if people think, hey, he's the woodworking testing guy, cool. I'm good with that. So
awesome.
That's
right on. Good answer. That's the one we wanted.
I don't know if I wanted that one. I wanted the other one, but that one will work.
All right, last but not least, we got Scotty Holland. We do have a written in from Doug Schaefer, but we're gonna save that for next week, just because we got really into the content stuff. I love it. This is like one of my favorite topics so
Into
far.
the content weeds, if you will.
Yeah, but next is Scotty Holland. Elevated would go.
Hey guys, it's Scott from Elevated Wood Design. Anyway, I have a question for Dan. I saw on a kid's show I was watching with my son this morning that someone used Best Foods mayonnaise for sunscreen. I was just curious if you've ever done that. And also, when you get inspiration from other makers, like with bottle openers or cutting board, you know, just whatever, like little trinkets and stuff, how do you go about asking for permission to not copy them exactly, but use their inspiration, or is that necessary? Like, where's the line? I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but I hit my head a lot as a kid. Anyway, thank you. Bye.
That sounds to me like a very good waste of mayo, Scott. That's kind of, I don't think I
feel like
you all know my love for mayo, but I've never done that. That's kind of weird. As for the question, you know, I think we have talked about this a few times on the podcast, and it does make sense that you may have hit your head as a kid. I think there is kind of like a gray area line. I mean, when you're talking about bottle openers, I mean, we've all made bottle openers. There's nothing proprietary about bottle openers. You know, who are you going to ask permission for on bottle openers? Pete and I make the same bottle openers. I'm sure Suman has probably made a bottle opener or two. Like, just go with the flow.
Coward.
Come on, you're killing me. And, you know, as far as cutting boards, I mean, obviously we've all made cutting boards. Suman has made a cutting board. It cost him $20,000. I think the thing, like, you need to maybe give a little credit to when you're making, say, a cutting board, is it the design? If the design is a complete ripoff of somebody else's, say for instance, I don't know if you guys follow Felt House.
Yeah.
He does those really intricate, I think he calls them those helical weave designs. Those are amazing, but those are his. He's the one who came up with that design, as far as I know. So if you're going to do that design, maybe you give him a little credit for that design. But as far as like making a rando cutting board with just strips of wood, who are you going to credit? So yeah, I think it's a really fine line. It's, I don't know. What do you think, Suman?
Many of you guys might be familiar with George Nakashima as a woodworker.
Of course.
He's a Japanese
Pete's got
style.
stories.
We play golf.
Oh yeah, he died in like 19 something. But George Nakashima is a tremendous inspiration to me as a woodworker, because nothing about it's very much Japanese aesthetics. Nothing about his design and his furniture is extra. Everything has a function, and it is at the simplest form possible. And there's something so beautiful about that. And so he has this style of like a trestle style dining table and stuff, and I made that for myself, and I really liked it. And there's a person who was really interested in that design of a table. I'm practically ripping off George Nakashima in that style. Like,
you were heavily inspired, Suman.
He's turning over in his grave.
Right. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like the angles of the cuts, and there's a lot of things that every single thing about it, I measured and made for my own self. But the overall look, you can look at the two and be like, yeah, that's a George Nakashima table. But so that's a pretty solid ripoff, right? And I made money off of that product sale.
But did you need to ask permission to make that?
No, because nothing about that is an actual copy of Nakashima style. It doesn't say, oh, his legs are 3.25 inches wide and the mortise and tenons are this size. No, I have no idea what that information is even about. And I actually am friends with one of his two apprentices that he had at the time. And like, he was willing to send me like the actual templates and the designs. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to make this on my own. just heavily copied the look of it, because he had the actual templates that George used. But yeah, it's fine. It's you can copy, be inspired by, and more often than not, if they're Chinese only made products, just rip them off because they deserve it.
Oh man. Pete, what say you?
Nothing is original. Everything's been made already. Almost every idea out there is a copy of a copy. And whether, even this Feldhaus pattern, he saw that pattern on probably some Scottish blanket and was like, "That's great, let's do that," and he just wanted to make it out of wood. But like the thing is,
that was too good. I didn't want to let the moment pass by without acknowledging how good that was.
The Irish accent, that was shockingly good.
Like the thing is, almost everything's been made, and I am saying this from being in a position of having been quote unquote ripped off, and also having made items that and have been accused of ripping someone off. So like,
yes.
So I mean, one that comes to mind like immediately as soon as like Scotty was talking about this is I think it's Designs by Donnie. Kills it in the acrylic template game. I have made my own versions of stuff that he has or similar to it for people before that have hit me up, or for myself, but like I like refuse to sell them because I feel like that's his thing. But then knowing full well that he's just the loudest one, he's the biggest one doing that thing that 50 other guys are doing with lasers and CNCs, some are cutting them by hand, whatever.
Right.
Like it's like when Dan got almost sued by a company because he makes tie in the shape of a bow and templates to cut it out.
They
not actually sued, but
how would I put this? They
it doesn't matter. We don't
heavily insinuated that they would get lawyers involved.
The thing is, like every idea out there, I feel like with furniture you can get away with stuff a little more, but when it's like CNC laser 3D printed type stuff, which is one of the reasons why I don't sell any items except one that I have permission for in my Etsy shop that I did not design. I designed everything else from scratch. I would find something like, this is cool, I'm not going to sell this one because I don't have the permission. I'm going to make my own because there's no proprietary thing that prevents me from making that thing. But like, it was almost to prove a point. I was like, I will make my own so no one can accuse me of that again. But knowing full well again that I could just do it. I could just be the a-hole and do it. So, it's a gray area, but like any of this stuff, like I go and look up, if I'm doing a vendor event, I'll look up vendor event, literally woodworking vendor event on Instagram. Like, oh, those are cool. I'm going to make them for my vendor event. I don't care. People are going to buy them,
Right.
Anyways,
you're making them.
Yeah. End of rant.
That reminds me of a situation that I ran into not that long ago. When I made that collapsible quote unquote Adirondack chair. It's not an Adirondack chair. It's more of
the one you stole from April.
I bought plans from April. But she doesn't provide CNC digital files. So I actually bought the plans, printed them 1-to-1, taped them all together, and then took measurements off the paper to make a CNC file. And then I had a bunch of people asking me, hey, you going to sell that CNC file? And I kind of waffled on it. I'm like, nah, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. To this day, I still go back and forth because like it's her product. But you look at that chair, and that chair has been made for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. I mean, it's in an old episode, it's in an old magazine of fine woodworking from the early 90s. Yep. I saw it in there. So it's not really her design, but out of respect from somebody else in the community, and I don't want to start a beef with April. I feel like I'd get crushed. I don't think I'm going to release the CNC files.
Yeah. So. Sometimes a lot of times it holds us back out of respect for the person more than anything. Like I respect Donnie. I don't want to tread on his toes, but I'm going to eventually start selling more acrylic templates, and some of our stuff is going to overlap, but I'm kind of holding off on it, So,
there you go.
Suman, did you go? I don't know if you had a.
I don't sell products, so it's pretty easy.
Coward. I want like Suman foam fingers and Suman hats. They have to be purple.
Now, to be fair, I don't sell products right now. I do have at least one product in the manufacturing stages. So we'll see what that looks like when it actually comes out. I
I'm
still haven't.
suing.
I still haven't gotten the first test piece of it yet. So, but I'm hoping that it'll come out
I just
sometime
drop
this year.
leather.
Do we have any more questions? Is that it?
So we have one more written in from Doug, but I think we're gonna save it for next week.
Let's save it for next week.
Yeah, save it for next week. Doug, thank you for writing in. We will read it. But let's call the show. This is great. I'm sorry I'm trying to like cut it short, but it's not short. We're like
It's
hour
not
40
short.
in. This was an amazing episode. Suman, thank you so much for joining us. This was great. The information
It was mediocre,
fire.
but thanks for being on.
It was fine. I'm really just
Look,
trying to upsell the people.
I live in mediocre spaces, so I'm so glad to be here with you guys, being mediocre alongside.
It was upper mediocre. Okay.
Just a three grown semi-bearded men in Dan's case trying their best.
Come on.
But thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you to all of our patrons, all of our amazing VIP patrons. You guys are great. You're gonna get this episode on latest Saturday, and you get the pre-show this weekend too. We're staying on top of that. And what else, Dan? Dan, you got something to add?
Be sure to share the show.
Share the show.
Keep sharing the show. That's what if you don't want to support us on Patreon, we understand. But if you could share the show with all your friends and family, all your social media platforms, that would be tremendous. Also, from what we understand, leaving a good review, 5-star review, would help us also. So wherever you can leave a review, Apple, can you leave reviews on Spotify and Google? I don't know.
Who knows?
Test it out. Let us know
what
if it
you
works.
can do. You can follow Suman at Woodcraft.
Oh yeah, you should totally do that.
On YouTube, Instagram. Anywhere else?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I am on Facebook, but I don't count it. And I don't know how you close this thing out, but I would say the last piece of advice is don't use mayo as sunscreen.
That's pretty good. That's pretty solid advice, I would say.
That's great. This is a clip right here. People need to know this. This is information that's important.
It not only is it a waste of mayo, but I think it's made with eggs and they'll start smelling. Just don't do it.
They are made with eggs. Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week with
Love y'all.
Scotty Walsh.
Scotty.
Love you long time.
Love y'all. Bye.
Thanks for having me.